I'm just gonna show some tricks about how my debuff works. It's all about stacking vulnerabilities and using certain keystones. So the whole build apply about stacking debuffs and dots and how to get there. I'm using a lot of mechanics and rage and crit and berserk for maximizing damage. And I use as many mechanics. I've been trying to cramp as much as possible onto it. There's certain ways to gain a lot of the debuff stacking going with other types. But what you really need to get is a Death Cult Blade because of the wide strike, the poison, and it has good damage on it as well. And with the combo I'm using, it means that my wide strike has a chance to apply both bleed and poison. And if you don't have a Demon Forge one, you can use just a normal one. And because the wide strike is Fleshbane, you can socket it for Fleshbane attacks cause bleeding to consistently get that bleeding stacks going to help proc the keystone in your passive tree that make it so the damage on the strike is increased by 15% for active dot. And that's why I'm spec'd into Heat 3, it's just to get access to another dot for extra 15% damage and vulnerability, and it's helping my Heat aura clear trash enemies. I also convert some of my damage to warp when I take damage, which means that I have a chance to apply almost every single debuff in the game, as far as I know. I think the only one I don't have readily access to is warped damage over time effect, and you can't really get that without the Psyker. It plays really smooth, it's fairly tanky due to health drain on weapons and shield drain. Kind of mandatory to have those. But yeah, you don't really have need to have the Demon Forge weapon. It just freed up so I was able to, instead of Fleshbane cause bleed, I was able to crit stuns. And when I'm up and running, I can hit a lot more than 28% crit. Don't really have to spec too heavily into the defense. It helps, that's for sure, but it's not really how you want to do. When you level up, you can basically use whatever. Movement speed is always a good way to go, and a personal teleporter is always a good option for just be able to move around the maps a bit quicker, since I'm not using movement speed. I'm at 5% or something. But due to the build and how it works, you're able to do fairly easy content. And let's see, let's just go into a quick need mission 106. Let's jump it up to 117 and see how it goes. We can put on Perseverance and some extra relics. So the whole goal is to apply debuffs quickly and scale the damage. So the first hits aren't going to do that much, but the damage is going to just ramp up because you stack a lot of vulnerabilities. And you have access to increased crit strength and all that fun stuff when you have a lot of debuffs on a target.
The web of heresy and corruption is spun
Inoculator is
by
mainly there for the
powerful
buff it
beings
gives
and
you.
perverted minds. Hunt their leaders, and this construct
And as
of
you see,
evil will come crashing down.
I'm debuffing fairly rapidly, and when I'm starting to get my berserk stacks up and running, it's just gonna ramp up the damage even more. The personal teleporter is also a great source of a bit of extra bonus damage, since it gives you a bit more dodge rate and bonus damage when after you blink. And I made this because kind of a lot of time you use the shock doctrines to clear trash with the shock explosions, and this one gives you decent clear speed and without having to rely on those groups of enemies to kill each other.
He deserved worse. Much worse.
So now when I'm up and running a bit more, I'm hitting 65% crit. I'm fairly low on the berserk stack, I'm guessing, since, yeah. So I won't have my crit strength up, but since I crit so often, and I fear on crit and on hit, and the interaction between some of the abilities means even just walking into a pack start applying a lot of debuff, and the heat aura melts them. And then when I start hitting it, it ramps up super quick because I then help adding the everything. And I'm literally just using Wide Strike and maybe the Execute ability sometimes for to change things up. But I'm totally focused on just using one skill. And you also have a charge ability with the Death Cult Blades, which make it easier to traverse maps. As you can see, this is a +17 mission, and it's fairly safe without capping any resistances or anything. I think I have some extra movement speed in the tree as well, so now I'm 20%. I think I can get it a bit higher as well if you get one-hit kills and stuff, so you can be quicker in lower content. And there are all messed up, so I think it's a good place to abort the mission. It's possible to do this on other characters if they have access to the whole dot hiss or anything. So you can do something similar with the Crusader fairly easily, and so on. But the Assassin gives you a bit more raw damage output due to Culling Keystone. So for every debuff effect on a target, I get crit strength, so I easily cap it. And damage bonuses for debuff effects. Another important keystone is reduction against dots because they are pesky. AoE is just because the swipe attack is an AoE, so you need to get the cooldown and area of effect of it. Yeah, that's about it. You have some leeway with your perks as well, depending what you're doing. And I could mid-max a bit more. I could maybe get some main stats on the armor piece, for example, to get accuracy to get up my base damage even more. But the extra survivability is just nice to have. On the inoculator, for example, you could change the duration so you get a fear aura. But I have fear on hit chance and fear on crit chance, which means I still get a chance to apply the fear, and the shock aura triggers quite often, so you have that up to help triggers hits per second. And the heat aura hits 4 times per second, which also helps quite a lot. And the cooldown on Wide Strike is fairly low, and you ramp up, it just gives you time to swipe a wave. So I don't really have found that many downsides. I use Killing Blow as well because its armor piercing can help on bosses when you stacked up some death marks on a target as a nuke, and it can really chunk targets down. But that's basically it. A good one.